Hey, yeah, everybody see.
All right, perfect. Okay. Good evening, everyone. We're about to begin. And if we can please stand for the flag salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. If we could please stand for a moment of silence, and Mr. Stein would like to say something.
Yes, last week, we lost another family member at Hackensack High School. He was a former teacher and guidance counselor, Mr. Ed Chardy. So I ask that you remember him in your thoughts.
Thank you. Please be seated. Sure. Okay. I apologize. Please stand. We're going to listen to our Hackensack chorus do the Star Spangled Banner.
Just want to introduce everybody. I'm Julie Plati, the choral music teacher here at the high school. And this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, just over 50% of the honors chorus. So we are going to sing the national anthem, and then we ask that you please stay standing. And you have the words for the high school alma mater. We're going to sing that with you, hopefully you know it. And then we'd like to present for you one additional song that we've been working on, just to give you a little bit of an idea of the incredible abilities that these students have. So without further ado.
Oh, say, can you sing by the dawn's early light? What so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars fill the veil. For the hearts we walk, so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red the buzzers singing gave birth to the dawn, and the flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet float o'er the land of the free?
No comments. Well done. I'm sorry.
Please be seated.
So much to the Hackensack Chorus and Miss Lottie. Is it Lottie? Correct? Thank you. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. It was amazing. Okay, so in accordance with the Open Public Meetings Act, NJSA 10:4-6, adequate notification of this meeting has been provided by advertising in the record and posting notice to the Board of Education Administration Building, which is the Padavano Education Center, and filing notice with the city clerk. I hereby call to order the regular public meeting on Wednesday, January 22nd, 2025, in the Hackensack High School Media Center at 6:23 PM. Ms. Singh, can you do a roll call, please?
Miss Amir Hamza,
Here.
Mr. Carroll,
Present.
Miss Cordero Alton,
Present.
Miss Gilmore,
Present.
Mr. Martin,
Here.
Miss Pringle,
Present.
Miss Harris,
Present.
Mr. Stein.
Present.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. Okay, so that was our student special presentation for the Hackensack Chorus. Now we are on to our student report. Shanika Thomas.
Good evening. My name is Shanika Thomas, and I'll be doing tonight's student report. Several,
I'm sorry,
Turn on your mic.
is your mic on?
yes, it's on.
Yes.
Okay, just speak into the
So-
mic. Yeah.
Several HHS students were chosen to have their artwork entered in a juried art exhibition at the Art Center of Northern New Jersey on January 30th. The following students were selected: Ivette Rojas Benitez, Emily Guarquila, Jaliha Zaire Campbell, Valencia Houghton, Gabriella O'Connell, and Nayeli Altman. The high school will be hosting a number of events in the next few weeks. Friday, February 7th at 7 PM, the HHS Dance Team's Black History Month performance in the auditorium. Our winter sports are in full swing. Our boys track team won the league meet for the first time in a number of years and will now move towards state team competitions. Our boys and girls basketball teams continue to hold their own in a very competitive league. The swimming program has had a bit of a resurgence with the co-op with Teaneck. Both boys and girls teams are doing well. Wrestling has had an increase in their roster and are continuing to rebuild the program. Lastly, our cheer team recently competed and won their latest competition. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Okay, at this time, be it resolved that the Hackensack Board of Education determines it is necessary to meet in executive session on Wednesday, January 22nd, 2025, to discuss legal, personnel, student-related matters, HIB reports, negotiations, and other confidential matters. And be it further resolved that these matters will be made public when the need for confidentiality no longer exists. Can I get a motion to go into executive, please?
Motion.
Okay, motion by trustee Pringle and a second.
I'll second.
Second by trustee Amber Hemsa. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Okay, so it is 6:26. I would assume about an hour. Should we tell the public? A little bit more, an hour and a half? So we should return by 8 o'clock. Perfect. So then at 7:30, we will notify you if we need to extend a little bit longer. Okay, we shall return. Thank you. Good evening, welcome back. At this time, would like to motion to come back to public session. Do we get a motion?
I like the.
No, no, we need to.
Okay,
I
well,
like to make a motion.
okay, from trustee Martin, motion from trustee Martin to open into public session. Can I get a second?
I'll second.
Okay, second by trustee Stein. Roll call, Ms. Singh, please.
Here.
Mr. Carroll,
Yes.
Ms. Cordero Alton,
Present.
Ms. Gilmore,
Here.
Mr. Martin,
Here.
Ms. Pringle,
Here.
Ms. Harris,
Present.
Mr. Stein,
Yes.
so stated.
Okay. The approval of the minutes, be it resolved that the Hackensack Board of Education approves the regular meeting minutes and executive session minutes of November 20th, 2024, and the reorganization meeting minutes, regular meeting minutes, and executive session minutes of January 8th, 2025.
I would make a motion to approve the January 8th meeting minutes and to table the November 20th minutes.
Should we table first? Okay, so do you want?
On the motion.
Okay, can I have a second to
second.
motion? Okay, so second by trustee Pringle to table the November.
That was me.
20
Gilmore.
I apologize. I thought. like this. Okay, so it's from trustee Gilmore. Thank you. So it is a table to table the executive session minutes of November 20th, 2024, correct?
Correct.
Okay. So let's go ahead and move on to approving the reorganization meeting minutes.
I'm sorry, Madam President, was there a vote on the motion to table?
No, I apologize. So let's do a roll call, missing, please.
Ms. Amir Hamza,
Yes, to table 11:20.
Mr. Carroll,
Why are we tabling?
We're missing information that was asked from our last meeting.
Okay, yes.
Ms. Cordero Alton,
Yes.
Ms. Gilmore,
Yes.
Mr. Martin,
Yes.
Ms. Pringle,
Yes.
Ms. Harris,
Yes.
Mrs. Stein.
Yes.
Motion passes to table November 8 minutes.
Thank you. Okay, now to approve the regular meeting minutes and the executive session minutes of January 8th, 2025. Can I have a roll call, please?
No, you need a
You need a
motion.
motion.
I apologize. Can I have a motion for that?
It's a long day. I'll offer a motion to approve.
Okay, for trustee Emerhensa. And a second?
A second. A second.
Thank you from trustee Pringle.
Do I
Roll
do a
call.
roll call now, or do we do aye? Everybody in favor?
Sure. So all those in favor say aye. All those
Okay.
opposed?
Motion passes.
I abstain.
And
Oh, yeah,
abstention from
Demetrius abstain. Thank you,
trustee Carroll.
Demetrius.
Thank you.
Mhm.
It is late. Yes, all right. Okay, presentations. So we have our audit reports from Jeffrey Bliss.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for having me here tonight to present the audit. We completed the audit for the fiscal year ended June 30th of 2024. Our main responsibility after completing the audit is to express opinions on your financial statement and opinions on your compliance with federal and state law. In both instances, those opinions were unmodified, meaning they were clean opinions, meaning the financial statements are fairly stated. They're prepared in accordance with generally accepted accounting principles, and there were no scope limitations in the audit. An unmodified opinion on compliance with state and federal grants is also a must. That's a clean opinion, means you complied in all material respects with grant compliance. Unmodified opinion in any school district audit is an absolute must. Anything other than unmodified means there are exceptions to the financial statements or exceptions to your compliance. I'm going to do just the highlights. I know it's been a long night, and I'm sure it's going to even be longer. Financially, we ended the year with a fund balance of $27.2 million. It was down about 6.2 million. That reduction was a planned reduction. At the end of June 30th, 23, we had $5.5 million in committed funds for construction projects. Those funds were spent during the 23-24 year, so it was planned by using those funds, it would be reduced. We also used $1.8 million of our maintenance reserve to fund maintenance projects. So again, that reduction of $6.2 million is not alarming in any way. Some of the highlights, you had excess budget revenues of almost $2 million. The majority of that was $1.4 million in investment earnings, doubled from the prior year. The investment strategies that the administration used were very successful, and were a big part in regenerating surplus for the district. On the budget expense side, the budget's about 150 million roughly. You came in about 10 million, 11 million under budget. So that's real good. And again, but when you come in under budget, you regenerate surplus, you put money back into the coffers. We had about 5.7 million in capital expenditures on school facility projects. We ended the year with a capital reserve. Those are funds that the board puts aside by resolution for school facility projects in the long-range facility plan. We had a little over 8.5 million in capital funds, an increase of almost 2.5 million over the previous year. So that was really good. Maintenance reserve, we had about 1.1 million. Again, that's down the 1,000,008 because we used the 1,000,008 during the 23-24 year to fund projects. We also ended the year with excess surplus of about 2.7. It's almost exactly the same when we ended June 3rd of 23 of 2.7. That creates stability. Excess surplus is a restricted fund balance that has to be used as a revenue source in the next budget. So by having 2.7 million in both years, it creates stability. It's not going up and down and all over. Your unassigned surplus in New Jersey, you're only allowed to have a maximum of 2% of your budget. The district had the full 2% maximum. So overall, financially, the district ended the year in very stable condition. Obviously, when you start preparing the 25-26 budget, there's be a lot of pressures on the fund balance to use it, and as well as pressures of costs that are going up. With respect to recommendations, we had no recommendations that rose to the level of a material weakness or a significant deficiency in internal controls. Those type of recommendations are serious recommendations. They mean that the financial statement, there could be errors and misstatements in the financial statement that are not detected in a timely manner. We had no findings of material weaknesses or significant deficiencies. We had 5 recommendations. I'll go through them quick. One recommendation regarding timely deposits of our payroll withholdings. We had a couple that weren't deposited timely. We just got to make sure payroll withholdings are deposited timely. We had a recommendation regarding the monthly treasurer's report with June, that it wasn't filed timely with the county. It's certain the bank recs were not completed at the end of the year. We had a recommendation regarding the public school contract procedures. New Jersey has a tremendous amount of regulations and procedures regarding contracts. District has improved over the years those procedures. We still got to work on it. There's still things we need to address. Student body activities, those are accounts held at the schools. During the COVID and right after COVID, those accounts were almost inactive. Now they're becoming pretty active, and we made a recommendation that we need to make sure we have formal accounting records and formal accounting procedures in all those funds. It's pretty much all the smaller funds, the elementary school funds. If you follow what the high school does and the middle school does, they have excellent procedures and records. And then finally, our last recommendation was regarding the district transportation report of residents, students. It's a census of students you transport. We had some differences where we reported certain students that were attending charter school, that were reported as attending charter schools and reported as attending out of district districts, which they were not on the registers of the charter school, and the students were not in the out of district school placement. So we over-reported those students. Again, 5 recommendations, nothing that rose to the level of a material weakness or significant deficiency. Unmodified opinions on the financial statements and compliance, and fund balance that is very stable, very comparable to the year before. Is there any questions? Be more than happy to answer.
I do have a question. If you can just clarify the issue with regard to purchases and contract awards, because in the recommendation list, there's information that Purchases and contract awards in excess of the bid threshold were not specific on board resolutions as to how contracts were awarded. Also, post-award contracts for professional services were not publicly advertised, and emergency contracts were not submitted to the county superintendent. So that is just, the recommendation is to make sure that there's a lot more specificity going forward.
Yes.
And that we have RFPs to advertise, professional services, and things like that.
Well, no, it's not that you have RFPs. It's that, one, when you do a resolution to award a contract, the resolution should be specific on how you procured that contract. That contract could be procured through a public bid. It can be procured through a professional service contract, competitive contracting. It could be an extraordinary unspecifiable service. It can be a co-op contract where you don't have to bid. So us as auditors, we're looking at the resolution. We can't tell how you procured the
Right.
item, so we can't tell if you followed the proper
Right,
procedures.
okay, thank you.
Professional service, when you award a professional service contract, you have to advertise a post-award notice after you award in the newspaper to say you awarded a professional service contract without bidding, who it's for, what they do, and the amount. The other item was the co-ops, that we have all the documentation for co-ops. Co-ops, you don't have to bid, you don't have to go out to bid. It's another government that does the bidding, and you could feed off that bid, but you need to get the contract documentation from them, because what we see when we do 85 school districts, what we see is that there was no co-op contract for that vendor. The vendor just says he has it, or they charge different prices and they give you different goods. So you got to be on top of that. And that's not unique to Hackensack. That's unique. That's every district that we do in the state. We got to improve that. And then I think the final thing was certain contracts that exceed 2.5, any contract that exceeds $2.5 million, you have to send a notice to the state Office of Control.
Thank you very much for the
You're welcome.
clarification.
Any other questions? Okay, believe there's none. Thank you so much.
So thank you.
Appreciate
Have a
it.
Good night.
Thank you too.
Good night.
Thank you.
Good night. Okay, and on to our superintendent's report.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Hope everyone is good and warm. So the first part of my superintendent's report will be based upon some information that I got through my listening and learning tour that I do every year. I had the opportunity to meet with parents and at different elementary schools. And one of the common questions and recommendations was to look at our pre-K registration process. And there were some challenges with efficiency in that particular area. We know that some of our parents had long waits outside, long waits on the telephone. And then there was some concerns around where their students were being placed in sibling priority. And so they asked me to come back with the team and kind of devise a plan that will allow for equity for the amount of spaces that we have, some considerations for sibling priority, but also to create a more streamlined and effective registration process. I tell the story when I first came into the district and I walked into the district meeting room, I felt like I was in 1980 because I felt like there was a telethon happening. There were 1 million phone lines and people picking up the phone every 5 seconds doing their best to answer calls and get information. And even though it has been working, it wasn't working as good as it could have. So now we have developed a team led by a consortium of individuals on my team. We have Ms. Donna Petron-Wall, who supports our pre-K. We have Ms. Shanta Jackson, who is also been responsible for developing the pre-K model registration, and Mr. Adrian Sapero, who worked diligently to come up with what we think will be a very streamlined and effective system. And so I'll have them share what that would entail so that we will also be sending all this information out to everyone.
Good evening. Can you hear
Good
me
evening.
okay?
Yes.
My name is Donna Petron Wall. There's a party of three, but there's only me tonight presenting. So thank you for your attention. I know it is getting very late. There's 15 slides. Starts with the title, ends with a thank you, so we're down to 13. So just to kind of go over a little bit of information. Thank you, Chris. So here are our core values: community, inclusivity, experiential learning, scholarship, engagement, and the whole child. Our mission: the Hackensack Public School program provides our students with a nurturing, safe, culturally responsive, developmentally appropriate environment that provides linguistic, social, emotional, cognitive, academic, and physical growth. Our highly skilled preschool facilities nurture the development of each child's sense of self and sense of community and an intellectually stimulating, language-rich, and joyful environment. Our vision: we hold that preschool plays a critical role in the formation of a child's development. Our vision is to cultivate inquisitive, kind, and confident children who love to learn. We are devoted to providing a strong foundational curriculum, preparing students with the mindset, skills, and dispositions that will enable all children to have a successful transition into kindergarten and elementary school. We also honor the vital role that families and our community plays in the development of our children and seek to build strong partnerships with them. Our preschool staff continuously seeks to build content and pedagogical knowledge to improve student learning. So this is kind of going over what we currently have. Last year, we partnered with a new provider. We had 5 additional classrooms with 15 students in each classroom. So right now we have 185 spots for the 4-year-olds in the district, and there'll be 75 spots for the 3-year-olds at private providers. Keeping in mind that out of that 185 spots, the children who are currently 3-year-olds will be able to continue in the program as 4-year-olds. General education pre-K classes are only available at the private providers. The program is tuition free. Full day is from 9 in the morning to 3 in the afternoon. These are for students who turn 4 or 3 by October 1st. Half day is from 9 to 11:30 or 12:30 to 3 o'clock. It is only for students with disabilities who turn 3 after October 1st. Unfortunately, at this time, the district does not offer before or after care. Private providers offer before and after care, along with summer care options. And keep in mind that is a cost to families that the district does not reimburse. Preschool is provided to all special education students who qualify. So here are the elementary schools. So there are 4 of them. So Fairmount has 2 general education inclusion classes for 4-year-olds and 1 special education class. If you kind of hop down to Jackson Avenue, you see a similar setup. However, they only have 1 general education inclusion classroom of 4-year-olds and 1 special education classroom of 3 and 4-year-olds. Hopping over to Hillers, they only have 1 general education inclusion classroom of only 4-year-olds. Down to Parker School, 2 general education inclusion classes of 4-year-olds and 1 special education preschool class with 3 and 4-year-olds. ECDC is where I'm housed. So there are 7 general education inclusion classes with 4-year-olds, 9 special education preschool classes with 3 and 4-year-olds, and 2 of the special education classes, which are half day. That's because the children turn 3 after October 1st. The rule is really before October 1st. We have our 2 private providers. So Bright Adventures, we've been with as a new recent provider as of this year. So they have 1 general education class of 4-year-olds, and the remaining 4 classes are all 3-year-olds. And then nearby ECDC is Bright Seedlings. We've been with them for a while. They did change their name, but now they are called Bright Seedlings. So they have 1 general education class of 4-year-olds and 1 general education class of 3-year-olds. So as Dr. McBride mentioned, the real meat of the presentation is that there's going to be a new process. So starting on Wednesday, February 14th, thinking of Valentine's Day. Wednesday, February 12th, there will be a Google form. Parents will scan the form. It's a QR code and they can upload all the documents. However, we are aware that not all families may have the internet or a computer. So as of right now, you can start calling that phone number in order to schedule appointments. Families will come in person on Wednesday, February 12th, and there'll be staff assisting them with the Google form. The completion of the information on our online system and in-person appointment will verify residency. So you have to verify that you live in Hackensack. Once registration is complete, along with all the other documents that are required, families will receive a letter letting them know their placement and additional information about the school. Here are the two flyers. So one is in English, one is in Spanish. We also have this entire presentation in Spanish, and we will be putting it up on the website. So here's something different for this year. Because we have so many 3-year-olds in general education inclusion classrooms, they will move into a preschool 4-year-old class. However, they must prove residency. In addition to that, there'll be a choice. So in March, they'll receive a survey to see where do they want to go for their 4-year-old, keeping in mind where they may be housed at a private provider. Those private provider spots are only going to have one 4-year-old class and the remaining 3-year-old classes. So they'll have the option of going to Nellie K. Parker, Fairmount, Pillars, Jackson Avenue, or of course, ECDC. All students enrolled in pre-K are guaranteed a spot. This is just a reminder. If there are 10 consecutive unexcused absences, a child is dropped from the program. However, there's a mechanism in place. After 3 days, we call a parent, the child still is not in class. At 5 days, we have a meeting with the parent. And then finally at 7 days, we have an additional meeting where school social worker and myself are also involved to see why is the child not coming to class. And then finally at that 10-day mark, they are dropped. For the most part, this has not happened this year unless a family moved to another town, was no longer a Hackensack resident, or if they had decided they weren't able to maintain the hours of 9 to 3 because there isn't morning care or aftercare provided. And in addition, there is not busing provided unless the child's IEP stipulates that the child has busing. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Any questions you'd like me to answer? Sure, Mr. Stein.
Will this PowerPoint presentation appear on our website?
Yes, and also the one in Spanish. So we have both. Any additional questions? Thank you. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Also back to me, huh?
Yes.
Okay. So again, thank you, team, my pre-K team. So one of the things that's also, well, actually, I want to start by getting a special shout out and thank you to the Strength and Honor New Jersey Motorcycle Club for their generous donations. They did a fundraiser for coats, and I think they collected over 80 winter coats, and they delivered them and helped at Jackson Elementary. So our families and our students will be able to reap the benefits of their wonderful gifts. So thank you. Yes. And as we know, as cold as it is right now outside, it's definitely needed. So we appreciate that. I'm going to do a brief presentation in response to some of the things that are happening currently in our world that are impacting our staff, our students, and our families as it relates to some executive orders that have come out that directly impact our students. And I just want to start off by saying that when certain things were communicated on Monday, there was a growing response asking for the district to communicate what our position would be to ensure that our families and our students feel safe. And so at that time, we were unable to provide any information because we were waiting for guidance from the state. And we have just gotten that, which is why we are communicating that tonight. For those of you who have Parent Square, you all received a letter from me identifying, number one, just reassuring our commitment to our staff and our students' safety, communicating how much we value and support who all of our community members are, and that we will commit ourselves to doing everything we absolutely can to ensure that we are providing a safe environment for our students and our families. Then this presentation will also be on our website as well with those resources. And I also want to give a special recognition to Trustee Amir Hamza, who has been extremely helpful in providing an abundance of resources that will be made available to the community as well, and ensuring that we are providing as much information as possible. And so I want to just kind of read them so everybody is clear around what the guidance from the state is around some of these issues, some of these issues. Schools must honor valid judicial warrants and orders, but should verify documents by contacting my office, and we will work with legal counsel before acting on any immigration official's requests. So in the event that someone shows up, that I'm going to kind of outline what the process entails. So the protocol is as such. My office is immediately contacted if that happens. We must then verify the credentials of the individual who is asking or requesting information, or individuals and their purpose. We are not required to grant access to school premises absent an official judicial search warrant or arrest warrant signed by a judge or exigent circumstances. An administrative immigration warrant is not sufficient to require admittance. The exception is if agents declares exigent circumstances. Student records protection and protocols. If that is requested, again, immediately contact my office before we share any student information. While we must produce education records in response to a court order or subpoena, state and federal laws protect the privacy of student educational records. FERPA, or the Family Educational Rights and Privacy Act, requires schools to make a reasonable effort to notify parents if this is requested. State regulations require parents and students to receive 3-day notice of such request. And again, it concludes that the district should consider adopting a policy to ensure a consistent process for responding to subpoenas. Safety planning requirements that should be in place involving non-local law enforcement. And we're in the process of doing these things, developing protocols for supporting undocumented students, training staff on security and student rights, review building access policies, ensure support for special needs and multilingual learners, monitor emotional impact on school community, create protocols for families affected by deportation, ensure school security plans are updated and in alignment with New Jersey Administrative Code, and support students and families affected by deportation or other immigration-related actions. Again, we just received this today, so we are in the process of working on those items as well to make sure, and we'll be providing you with an update with those specific items as they become available. Legal guidance provided to support NJDOE's stance, Title VI of the Civil Rights Act of 1964. I won't necessarily read that. There's the Plyer versus Doe case, and the Immigrant Trust Directive, which was issued by the New Jersey Attorney General. So we're going to direct you to the website, which has a plethora of information, which is at the bottom, but it stresses the importance of our security staff knowing how to communicate with federal agents, identifying what a valid warrant looks like, and data privacy best practices. The site also underscores the need to ensure all communication to parents and families in multiple languages. And then finally, the site offers a lot of resources for students affected by the deportation and related trauma in an effort to address the emotional, social, and academic challenges they may face. So when I sent out the email this afternoon, I never really checked back on responses from Parent Square. I usually don't get any. It just, people read it and they kind of move on. But this one kind of stuck out to me today. And I'm not going to say who it's from. And it read, Dr. McBride, while I appreciate the information, however, the mission of school remains simply to educate children. And as I read it, I wrote a response, but I didn't send it because by the time I went to respond to the person, they had removed it, but they didn't know it was actually still in my inbox. And my response is, as educators, we don't have the luxury of just educating students on math and science because we teach the whole entire child. Everything that impacts them impacts their education. So we are responsible for their mental well-being as well as their academic well-being. And so we see children for more than the actual content we're trying to teach them. We are responsible for supporting them in whatever area that they need. So that myopic approach reminded me of what they told LeBron to shut up and dribble. And I take offense to that because true educators are impacted by anything that impacts our children. If a child is hungry, they're not going to learn. If a child is worried about their parents, they can't concentrate on anything you're teaching them. If a child is going through trauma or being bullied, all of those things impact how our children show up. And so therefore, we, the educators, play more than just that role of a teacher. We are a parent. We are a social worker. We are a counselor. We are a mentor. We are a coach. We are all of those things. So I want us to make sure that we are clear about what the role of education is. Yes, we have a responsibility to make sure our kids are prepared to go into the world. But that takes shapes in many forms, to be good human beings, to also be mindful about how they are feeling and are supported. That is what we do here in Hackensack. And so I just want to kind of share that. And so we will be doing, and again, we know things are happening every day, minute by minute. We're seeing more and more developments, and you can be assured that this board, this central office staff, all of our staff members in the district will do our very best to be as responsive and as supportive to all of our families who may be affected by any of the things that may be coming down the pike. So I wanted to share that before I go to the actual superintendent report. Any questions about what I shared before I move forward?
I don't have a question, but I do want to commend you and the central office staff for notifying the entire community and acting very quickly on this situation. And you had voiced to me your concerns of those phone calls and those messages that you received and how are we going to support our families? And I appreciate you seeking out resources, and as trustee Emerhensa, as she works in this field, she was able to provide more resources that we could give to our family. So I want to thank you for that, for
Thank
acting
you.
quickly.
And again, those resources are on the website as well.
Yes.
And they have the links. You could just click on them and you'll be able to get directly to the information on the website. All right, enrollment report. As of today, we have 5,301 students enrolled with a 94.01% attendance rate. For our residency report, we received 3 cases in December of 2024 and 16 for our year to date. Residency verified, there were 2 in December and 7 for the year. In-home visits unverified, there was 1. Year to date, we have 10. Parents provided updated in-district proof of residency, we had 1. Year to date, there are 6. And students withdrawn as a result of residency investigation in December was 0, and year to date, there was 1. Next, we have our harassment, intimidation, and bullying report from November 16, 2024 through January 17, 2025. Founded, there was 1 in the middle school. Unfounded, there were 12 that, out of those 12, 1 was from Fairmount Elementary School, 8 from the middle school, and 3 from the high school, totaling out 13 for the district. Currently pending, there are 4, 3 from the middle school, 1 from the high school, And the preliminary determination, not HIB, as of right now is preliminary, is 3. 1 from Hillers, 1 from the middle school, and 1 from the high school. And that concludes my report.
Thank you so much. Before we begin for our next portion, I just want to remind everyone that we do have our ASL interpreters and we have our Spanish interpreters here. So if we can just speak slowly and into the microphone so that they're able to give the information to those who need it, okay? So on to public comments.
You're not going to do a motion to accept the superintendent's.
No, because that happens later in curriculum. Thank you. So on to public comments. So public participation shall be governed by the following rules. 1, if in person, a participant must sign the sign-in sheet and be recognized by the presiding officer and must preface comments by an announcement of his or her name, municipality of residence, and group affiliation if applicable. 2, each statement made by a participant shall be limited to 3 minutes duration during the public session. 3, all statements, questions, or inquiries shall be directed to the presiding officer, and any questions or inquiries directed by a participant to another board member shall be redirected to the presiding officer, who shall determine if such statement, question, or inquiry shall be addressed by the presiding officer on behalf of the board or by the individual board member. And 4, all board and/or superintendent responses to questions or inquiries shall be held until the end of public participation. All right, at this time, public comments is now open. If there's anybody in person that would like to speak. Go ahead, the floor is yours.
My name is Blanche Stewart. I reside in Hackensack. I also am a member of the work group. The reason I signed in was to ask, why do you have to sign in? Because you may have a question to ask that might come up from a comment that you've made. While I was sitting there, he had an order to come up. And there was a question, there was something that he said about out of district and charter schools and whatever. I didn't understand what he was saying. And maybe one of you can explain to me what he was saying as to it not being correct. And at that point, we can't ask because he's giving you the report. You didn't ask. So when can we ask? That's my question, basically. Statement, question, whatever you want to call it.
Okay. Is that it?
So if somebody could answer the question that the auditor gave or the report, I can't ask him because he left.
Okay. Thank you.
So the finding about the DRTRS, we usually have to prepare a report of transported students for the state. And what has happened is, because it's prepared by special services, the person in my office who was responsible for that did not coordinate it correctly. So it was overstated. It was there, the out-of-district students were recorded twice.
Okay, thank you.
Not a problem.
Thank you.
Good evening, Reverend
evening.
Carolyn Davis, Hackensack. Part of the work group, but this is not a work group question. And that's similar to what Ms. Stewart just asked. Is there any way when the auditor gives a report, not the same night, because there's a lot that we don't understand, at some time, maybe the next meeting, someone can give us a brief in words that we can understand, synopsis of what the auditor talks about? Because like you said, we don't get a chance to ask questions about that in a simpler form. That's just something to think about. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Victor, resident of Hackensack. At the last board meeting, there was 2 statements I heard that was very disturbing to me. One was when Trustee Martin stated about telling the staff and the teachers if there's any problems, you can come to him. I feel that that's undermining Dr. McBride when you say that, because that's opening the door for all types of problems to occur. There's a process and a procedure that we all should follow as far as educators and teachers and staff, not go to you directly. Number two, another thing that was disturbing, when Trustee Harris made the statement about she didn't receive the proper mailing or the proper information that was given about the meeting, I found that to be kind of little untrue because it was open and all the information that should have been given to you was there in the Oprah. So I don't know where you got that from and you didn't get it. So if you want to explain yourself, it's fine. Let me believe what I want to believe. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else in the public? Okay, we'll go on to Zoom.
Good evening. Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Okay, good evening. I'm Shauna Shortridge, and I'm just calling to add to what Dr. McBride said. In a world where education often feels increasingly driven by data points and standardized tests, it's crucial to also remember that we're not teaching robots, we're teaching human beings. Each of our students comes with their own unique strengths, their stories, their challenges, their hopes and dreams. And education should always be about nurturing the whole child, not just the intellect, but the heart, the spirit, and the social emotional well-being of each individual. And in our current climate, the current climate of our country, where divisiveness, uncertainty, and systematic challenges seem to overshadow so much of what we do, it's easy to lose sight of what truly matters in education. But now more than ever, we must prioritize teaching, not just with the academics, like Dr. McBride said, but with empathy, connection, and a deep understanding of the whole person in front of us. We're here to equip our students, not just with the knowledge, but with resilience and compassion and the ability to navigate a world that is complex and often difficult for us as adults. So can you imagine the 9-year-olds that I teach? We're here to help them grow into individuals who not only succeed academically, but also understand their value as human beings and how to treat others with that same respect and dignity. So Dr. McBride, thank you for taking that moment to be proactive in your approach for sending the email to a parent. I'm a parent and a teacher as well. Your leadership reminds us that we cannot allow the pressures of the current educational climate to limit the scope of what we do. And you also remind us that we are in this profession to support and uplift our students in every possible way, ensuring that their emotional, their social, and their mental health is just as important as their academic success. And thank you for leading by example and reminding us that we teach human beings and not robots. And to everyone sitting there this evening and listening, let's continue to nurture the hearts and the minds of our scholars and work together to create an environment where every child can thrive, not just as a student, but as a person. Thank you.
Anybody else online?
Can you hear me? Okay, this is Bridget speaking.
I'm going to say what Mr. Geddes said. Trustee Harris, that draft agenda for 12/18 was published and sent to you guys on 12/13. The calendar that you said was not published was actually public notice on August the 23rd of 2024. Your words were, you did not at all receive it. And then you led the other 5 sitting members saying the same thing. So I'm just going to say that was a lie. You know that was a lie. But the other ones that followed you, like follow the leader, fell into the rabbit hole with you. Because one thing you should know about me, I'm going to always research stuff and I will always Oprah things. The other thing I want to talk about is that you have a teacher by the name of Nicole Catrona, an 8th grade science teacher. You need to teach her how to have class management. You need to teach her how to respect the actual school monitors that are there to help the situation. That's what you need to do. Because a teacher should not be speaking.
Excuse me, I'm
Yes.
sorry. We will not talk
Okay,
about it
but I'm
now.
going to say this because otherwise, if I don't say this,
But this is
and
not
you
an appropriate, this is
I
not an
understand what you're
appropriate venue
saying,
for that, ma'am.
but you need to understand this because you have Mr. Trustee Kenny Martin saying that teachers should come to that podium and speak about what's going on. And I'm a community member speaking about what's going on.
Sorry. Thank you. Is there anybody else online? Okay. Is there anybody else in person? Just so that the public understands, so yes, public comments is for the public to speak, but we will not be speaking directly about our personnel. Teachers actively, if there is an issue, please direct it to the building principals or the supervisors. Thank you. Or to our superintendent, Dr. McBride personally. Thank you. Okay, at this time, public comments is now closed. We are going to move on to our committee reports and our resolutions. We're going to start off with personnel. And our personnel chair is Trustee Emma Hemsack. Go ahead.
Thank you very much, President Harris. I want to offer for consideration personnel items A1, A through O. And I would just like to make a special note regarding item A1O, which is a memorial resolution honoring Lillian Kelly Whitaker. That is a resolution that will be read and presented at another time with the family present. So I do want to acknowledge that, but I offer for your consideration A through O in personnel.
Perfect. Thank you. So we have a motion from Trustee Emma Hemsa. A second, please.
A second.
That's from Trustee Pringle.
Yes.
Thank you. Roll call, please. Discussion? Sure, go ahead.
Right. I would like to motion to table N, the 2025-26 calendar. It was not made available in an appropriate time frame or added to the public agenda that was posted online. I request that it be tabled until next month, February.
So it is my understanding that that there is a deadline, correct, for the calendar for January that we must meet?
However, I just want to add that Dr. McBride or if our board attorney can just clarify, or perhaps Ms. Singh, we can make amendments as needed once it is approved because of the lateness in receiving it and the required approvals. Okay.
I know. I'm very familiar with that, but the community was not provided the calendar.
So,
Are you looking for a response?
yes.
Yes, you can amend your calendar after the fact. Your deadlines are contractual I don't have them.
Could you speak
Can you
into the
call
mic,
somebody?
Jessie?
I'm not.
Whoever should have them. The issue that we have here, in my personal opinion, is that the calendar was not presented online or being acknowledged as being voted on this evening. So I'm requesting that it be tabled until it can be properly posted for all of the community to accept and acknowledge and also voice their opinion on, as opposed to us moving this forward today. So if we need to get advisement on the actual deadline, I think that would be necessary.
So could we, for the moment, until our board attorney gets a little bit more clarification on that, can we move on to the next?
You have an open motion. You can motion to table and move forward, or we can close the motion. If you motion to table, we could pick it up after the fact, which would give me time to look for it.
So, can I speak?
Yes.
So can we vote on A1 to AO except for that until later? And so we can move on with the vote.
Yes, I'll be fine with that.
Can we do that by motion?
Okay, so who motioned to table item
N?
N?
And
So we need a second.
I second.
Okay, from trustee Pringle. Now we're going to do a roll call to motion table N.
Ms. Mayor Hamza,
Yes, awaiting, the board attorney's information, yes.
Mr. Carroll,
Yes.
Ms. Cordero Alton,
Yes.
Ms. Gilmore,
Yes.
Mr. Martin,
Yes.
Ms. Pringle,
Yes.
Ms. Harris,
Yes.
Mr. Stein.
Yes.
Motion, table to motion and the calendar for 25-26 school year until the board attorney gets an answer for us.
Correct.
It has passed.
Thank you. So now we're going to we need a motion, which was given by trustee Amor Hemsa, correct?
Yes.
And it was second by trustee Pringle originally. So now we're going to vote on items.
We'll be voting on A through O with the exception of N.
Thank you.
Okay, roll call. Ms. Amir Hamza,
Yes.
Mr. Carroll,
Yes, and recuse myself from any power personnel. Any power personnel.
what number is that, please?
C1, C1.
D1, okay. D1 recusal,
I think that's the only one, C1.
okay. Ms. Cordero Alton,
Again, yes, with the exception of N.
Ms. Gilmore,
Yes, with the exception on the attorney's findings.
Mr. Martin,
Yes.
Ms. Pringle,
Yes, with the exception of N until the attorney's findings.
Ms. Harris,
Yes.
Mr. Stein.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay, thank you. Moving on to policies, trustee Amor Hemsa, please.
Yes, I do want to offer for consideration policy items B1 and B2. And I just want to note for the public that under B1, we are approving the first reading of policies 0164, which relates to conduct of board meeting. And in particular, there are adjustments relating to the actual agenda of the board meeting, providing that most business, with the exception of student-related special presentations or the student report, happen immediately, and thereafter we go into executive session. Additionally, for the public's note, we are including a second public comment period of 1 minute at the end of the meeting. So I just wanted to let the public know what specifically is being changed. So that relates to both 0164, conduct of board meeting, and 0167, public participation in board meetings. And this is a first reading. And there are no policies up for a second reading.
Thank you very much. Okay, so trustee Amor Hemsa gave a motion. Can I have a second?
I second.
Okay, second by trustee Pringle. Roll call, please.
Discussion?
Go ahead. discussion.
Can we clarify, legal, is discussion part of the process at this stage? I just want to make sure I'm not overstepping.
Usually there is discussion, so whether or not you have any discussion remains a part of the power.
So, I would like to discuss how it was determined that the second public comment would be open-ended as far as what topics could be discussed. I don't necessarily have an issue with the 1 minute. I have an issue with the second public comment as a whole, but I was in line with trustee Vice President Stein's recommendation to limit what could be discussed. And I'd like to explore and understand why that wasn't taken into consideration and further understand the purpose of yet another public comment that is completely open when they could have discussed it in their first 3 minutes. Or it is also for public knowledge at the board president's discretion to extend any individual comment, such as she did at the last board meeting on January 8th, where she allowed a member of the community to speak for almost 5 minutes. So I want to understand how we got here.
Sure, to address that question, first of all, Vice President Stein's comments were discussed in committee. And secondly, for point of clarification, the first public comment period is a 3-minute period, has a 3-minute limit. The second public comment period has a 1-minute limit. And that second public comment period happens at the end of the meeting, where individuals may want to come up and provide a congratulatory comment regarding any personnel-related issues. They may have a comment regarding an announcement about upcoming events that they would like to share with the community. And so that is why it's not limited to any particular topic. And again, it is limited in the fact that it is a 1-minute time period for that second public comment period.
So further discussion on my part is I'm not understanding yet again then why an additional 1-minute comment is necessary when the 3-minute comment is available and all of the things that you just now cited as options for the community to comment on are present and available to them at the onset because they've been given the agenda and can be seeing things such as Mr. Conti's promotion. I could, and I did congratulate him earlier because it's on here. So just some back and forth. And if you don't mind, I would also like to say that the results or the conversations that took place in committee were not shared with other board members as they had been because there's a document that apparently has been nixed and will not be completed going forward, it would seem, where these types of things would have been listed there so that board members get a sense of what actually took place during that committee. So again, going back to the fact that Trustee Stein, Vice President Stein, had a great idea about how we would go forth with a public comment, it still doesn't resonate with me as to why we're including everything again. And I would like to hear from other people in the committee as far as their suggestions.
Sure, but I will just clarify that the first public comment period happens before the board votes. The second public comment period happens after the board has conducted its business and voted. So that is the distinction between the two. And second of all, and I don't want to speak for President Harris, but there was, information provided to all trustees that when there are specific questions about any particular item in any particular committee, the outreach is there to the committee chair, and that never happened on your part. So.
And that's always been the understanding, so it's definitely not new. I appreciate you pointing that out because many members of this board did not take that same opportunity just months ago. But what I would like to ask as well is, seeing as you were the only member of this board who was part of the 2019 board in which the second public comment was done away with, you had apparently been absent from the September of 2019 where it was the first read. And so you were unable to vote. And at that time, there were 4 other members of that board who were in line with not or not doing away with the second public comment. But then somehow, when you returned, you and only 1 other board member voted against it. So what I would like to know is, did you only not vote for it because of your absence during the first read? And what was the consensus at that time as to why they were doing away with it, since it was publicly voted on and approved by the majority of the board at that time, which was 10 members at that time, and 8 individuals actually voted for it not to continue with the second public comment? Any
I have
historical
explained
memory?
all of my comments, and with regard to, my, disagreement in eliminating any type of participation from the public. I explained that in the way that I voted against the elimination of that public comment period. And if you watch the meetings and listen to the comments, you will see that. And I would really, that the reason that we have the opportunity now to bring it before this board, which is a different board, is that we have heard from members of the community that there is really a lack of outreach and engagement within the community. So we are trying to respond to that request. And now we are going to hear what the current board would like to do in that respect.
Okay, thank you. Are there any other discussions or anyone from personnel or policy that would like to speak? Okay, so at the time, we have the motion from trustee Amor Hamza, the second from trustee Pringle. Missing, roll call, please.
Ms. Amir Hamza,
Yes.
Mr. Carroll,
Yes.
Ms. sorry,
But I say no to the second public comments.
no to second comment.
Which one is that? Sorry, you just voted no.
It's in B1, but it's not like.
Okay.
really
So then it's,
Yeah,
Then it's B1.
0167.
Ms. Cordero Alton,
Yes to everything with the exception of B1.
Ms. Gilmore,
Yes.
Mr. Martin,
Yes.
Ms. Pringle,
Yes.
Ms. Harris,
Yes.
Mr. Stein.
Yes.
Motion passes.
thank you. On to curriculum, and that goes to trustee Pringle.
Okay, good evening. So curriculum, I would like to make a motion C1 through C10.
I'm sorry, trustee Pringle, before it is past 10 o'clock and our meetings typically, are supposed to end at 10. We're supposed to make a motion to extend our meeting. So can I get a motion to extend our meeting? Motion by trustee Carroll, second by trustee Stein. Thank you. Okay, now we can continue on to curriculum. My apologies, trustee Pringle.
Okay. Again, I'd like to make a motion C1 through C10, highlighting C4. Be it resolved, the Hackensack Board of Education, upon recommendation of the superintendent of schools, approves the new cybersecurity course offering for Hackensack High School students for the 25-26 school year. I would also like to highlight C7. Be it resolved, the Hackensack Board of Education, upon recommendation of the superintendent of schools, authorizes Select Wellness to provide wellness services at all schools, ECDC, Office of the Special Services, and the Papadamo Center, February 25 to March 25. Services provided will be at no cost to the district. Last but not least, I would like to also highlight C9. Be it resolved that the Hackensack Board of Education, upon recommendation of the superintendent of schools, accepts the grant award of the school-based mental grant program application from the New Jersey Department of Education to support the recruitment, placement, hiring, and retention of school-based mental health professionals in the amount of $375,000. Thank you.
Thank you, trustee Pringle. Okay, so motion by trustee Pringle. Can I have a second?
Second.
Second by, say that again? Trustee Martin, thank you. Ms. Singh, roll call, please.
Ms. Amir Hamza,
Yes.
Mr. Carroll,
Yes.
Ms. Cordero Alton,
Yes.
Ms. Gilmore,
Yes.
Mr. Martin,
Yes.
Ms. Pringle,
Yes.
Ms. Harris,
Yes,
Mr. Stein,
Yes.
motion passes.
thank you. On to finance, and that is trustee Stein.
Yes, I'd like to offer D1 through D10. An explanation on D10. Yes, we did receive it at a later time. But basically what this is, it's a timeline for the finance department when they have to file certain papers regarding our budget, whether it's to the state, to the county, to the board, to particular staff. It just enumerates a timeline. So if you read through it, board members, it's very direct. So I'll offer that as a motion.
Thank you so much.
I'd second.
Okay, so we have a motion from trustee Stein, a second by trustee Carroll. Ms. Singh, do a roll call, please.
Yes, Ms. Amir Hamza.
Yes.
Mr. Carroll,
Yes.
Ms. Cordero Alton,
Yes.
Ms. Gilmore,
Yes.
Mr. Martin,
Yes.
Ms. Pringle,
Yes.
Ms. Harris,
Yes.
Mr. Stein,
Yes.
motion passes.
Okay, perfect. On to buildings and grounds, and again, trustee Stein.
Buildings and grounds right now is very limited. It had to do with use of school facilities in accordance with our district policy.
So motion from trustee Stein. Can I have a second?
Second.
Second by trustee Carroll. Ms. Singh, roll call, please.
Yeah, Ms. Amir Hamza,
Yes.
Mr. Carroll,
Yes.
Ms. Cordero Alton,
Yes.
Ms. Gilmore,
Yes.
Mr. Martin,
Yes.
Ms. Pringle,
Yes.
Ms. Harris,
Yes.
Mr. Stein,
Yes.
motion passes.
Perfect. Okay, so we did have an item on table. Actually, no, I apologize. Let me just move on to community relations and then we'll go back to the item that was tabled. So community relations, our chair is trustee Gilmore.
Hi, good evening. I'm excited to say that the Community Relations Committee is going to begin, and the email went out to existing members to see if they're still interested. They have until this Friday to confirm participation, and the meeting will be scheduled shortly.
Thank you. Okay, so back onto the table, to the motion table item N, that was part of personnel. So board attorney, could you just explain what you have found? Please.
There's no established timeline, a deadline in your, obviously there is a deadline in terms of your administrator's ability to administrate the schools, but there's no established deadline under the law or in your policy. There is a timeline for when you're supposed to, in your, some of your contracts, for when you're supposed to start communications, but no deadline for when to approve it. So you can delay it, or you could do it today. It's up to the boards. There's nothing preventing you from either way.
Okay, so we're gonna vote on this, correct? So do we have to vote to take the motion out?
Yeah,
take
you
it?
need a motion to remove it from the table.
So-
That has to be approved, and then a motion.
Okay, so can I have a motion to remove item N from personnel off the table? Motion by trustee Stein,
Second.
second by trustee Gilmore. Roll call, please.
Okay, Ms. Amir Hamza,
Yes.
Mr. Carroll,
Yes.
Ms. Cordero Alton,
No.
Mr. Martin,
Yes.
Ms. Gilmore,
Yes.
Ms. Pringle,
Yes.
Ms. Harris,
Yes.
Mr. Stein,
Yes.
motion to on table passes.
Okay, so
Now you need a motion to approve it.
Okay, so let's have a motion to approve item N from personnel. Can I have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Okay, so motion from trustee Martin. Can I have a second?
I'll second.
Second from trustee Mahemsa. Discussion. Okay, no discussion. So now we're gonna move on to roll call. Thank you.
Ms. Amir Hamza,
Yes.
Mr. Carroll,
Yes.
Ms. Cordero Alton,
No.
Ms. Gilmore,
Yes.
Mr. Martin,
Yes.
Ms. Pringle,
Yes.
Ms. Harris,
Yes,
Mr. Stein.
Yes.
Motion passes.
thank you. At this moment, we don't have other committees. Any new business? Okay, I see that there are none. So this part is our second public comments, okay? Individuals may address the board on agenda or school matters of community interest for a minute, 1 minute only, please. Also, this could also be the time if you wanted to congratulate anybody who was appointed. That would be a good use also of your time. Don't know if the mic is on.
I just want to say congratulations to the superintendent and this new board. We're looking for great things from all of you. Very quickly, I just want to say, I have a problem with anybody who wants to limit any public comments. We are supposed to be here. You're talking about open communication with the public. There are things you go back and discuss, and when you come back, something else comes to my mind. So that's why we have a second public comment. This is a free world. Many of us are here. We're here because we don't mind being here. So if there's a chance to say something else that might come up, I want that. Public comment should not be limited. If anything, we should be opening it up more. Thank you.
Yes, I have to speak. I don't know. Quickly, because I only have a minute. I actually think the public comments should be moved back to 3 minutes at the end. They always were until 2019. Second thing, who are the members of the Community Relations Committee? And the third thing is, should board members be texting while they're in a meeting or recording? Those are my questions and comments. Oh, excuse me, wait, I got 35 seconds. And it would be nice that board members speak to each other nicely. And even when you're looking at the audience, I mean, the community that's here, to not look at them in an angry manner. We try to teach our kids to be nice to each other. Please respect each other and respect us. Thank you.
Yes. Okay, thank you. Anybody else in the public? Okay, we'll go on to anybody on Zoom. Thank you. Okay, anybody else in the public? Okay, thank you. This will close our public comment section. We're on to board comments. Board comments, trustee Cordero Alton.
I would first and foremost like to thank everybody who's out here this evening yet again. Another late night in the month of January. And for the city of Hackensack, I would like to make mention of the city of Hackensack and the local ELPs. And when I say local, I mean Paramus, Bergenfield, Hackensack. There's an upcoming event. It is the New Jersey ELPs Peer Leadership Conference 2025. And 18 to 20 of our amazing Hackensack scholars were handpicked by their guidance counselors to participate in this program. And in addition, I'm sorry? You know what? That's a great question. If you let me look at my phone, I could probably find out who that was for you. I have, and I actually would like to address that since you're still here. The individuals who were texting me were my husband asking where I was, my 16-year-old daughter inquiring and reminding me that we need pet food, as well as my mother who is calling to find out what my 16-year-old would like for her 17th birthday. In addition to that, I'm also reviewing items for the board by reviewing policies that are available online, and they're here in the palm of my hand. So I don't want you to think that I am just willy-nilly not paying attention. I am. And as you notice, there are many members of this board who participate in doing the exact same things for the purposes of the board. But no, I can't not answer my phone when my parents, my husband, or my daughter are calling, but I appreciate your concern greatly. So again, it was the Hackensack, New Jersey Elks. I will definitely identify who the exact number was. But the city of Hackensack, what I found out, actually contributed to ensuring that our students can go. At $350, thereabouts, $380 per student, we're looking at about $7,700 that the city of Hackensack, along with the Elks Lodge, our local Elks Lodge, participated to send these students to. It's a great opportunity. It's a peer leadership, and they talk about mentoring students, dealing with harassment, intimidation, and bullying, drugs, how to say no, and how to be a healthy young adult in our society. So I wanted to acknowledge that. Also going back to the coat drive that took place here in Hackensack, I want to give a big shout out to the Strap Hanger, as well as the Strength and Honors Motorcycle Bike Club that participated and sponsored the event. Again, there were well over 80 jackets delivered to our Jackson Ave Elementary, and I think that we as a district look forward to branching this out so that other schools can actually be impacted by this. That is actually all I have for this evening. Thank you.
Trustee Carroll.
Okay, I'll be quick. I just wanted to say, I wasn't at the last meeting. I want to say Happy New Year to everyone. And I want to welcome the new board members and the chorus tonight. Thank you for the chorus coming out. And the alma mater, I don't even know the words to the alma mater. I know it's been a while, but I don't even think I ever heard it before, but I got them now, so I'll learn them. And I want to also echo Dr. McBride and Trustee Cordero out and on the Strength and Honor Motorcycle Club and the Strap Hanger. The owner of Strap Hanger came up to me and asked me, could they do a coat drive for the schools? And we chose Jackson first, but I would like to say it was such a good outcome that he said going forward every year we're gonna do a coat drive for the other schools in the future. So it's an ongoing thing. And that's it. Have a good night, everyone.
Trustee Martin.
First, I'd like to welcome the new board members. Congratulations on the job well done out there, up and down the hills, canvassing and speaking to our residents. I'm sure that they are happy that you're on this board as well. Also, I want to just thank Ms. Platt for coming, and the chorus, the Hackensack Chorus, for coming. It was a great idea of our president for inviting them. And most of all, to sing the alma mater. That was, I think that was a super idea you had, bringing it into this board. This way, it would bring back commodity and unity and letting everyone know that we are true blue and gold. And our students as well. I could see the smiles on their face when they were singing that, as well as out in the audience. So again, thank you for bringing that to tonight and to our board. Also, I just want to give my sympathy to Mr. Charlie family. He was my guidance counselor when I was here. And after he retired, he didn't stop. He kept going. He saw a need for our students of giving them scholarships. He and his committee and without his committee, he couldn't do it by himself. That they gave over several thousands of dollars of scholarships over the years. And our kids are really benefit from it. So again, keep Mr. Chardy in mind. He was a great man, a good man, a really strong and warm heart he had. And he believed in our district and he loved our district. That's why he did what he did. Just for clarification, to our resident that's came up and addressed me personally about he had concerns that I asked residents, not residents, I'm sorry, teachers, to come to me if you have any problem. Please don't come to me. I never said that. You have to go to your board, to your superintendent or your immediate supervisor. What I did say is for all residents, students, teachers, no matter what your title is, come to the mic. We are here to hear from you. That's why we have these public meetings. I'm personally, as well as majority of the board, is tired of looking at empty chairs and having people speaking from their bedroom or living room to us. Come into this building, come to the mic, tell us your concerns. That's why you voted for us. That's why we're here today. So I really needed to stress that. Again, do not come to me, come to the board, go to your immediate supervisor, staff. Residents, yes, come to this board and address your problems. Again, thank you, everyone, and have a good evening. We'll still be here, and I don't mind that.
Trustee Abrahamsa.
I wanted to echo, that the beautiful performance by the Hackensack Choir, Ms. Platt, and Wunderschönes Lied, the piece that they sang by Schubert. For me, whose first language was German, it was lovely to hear that song. So I also want to thank those of you who have been so welcoming on the board and across the district. I really, also wanted to begin by, first of all, commending Dr. McBride, all of the other administrators and educators and staff across the district that have been so concerned for our students and families and our entire community in recent days. I want to acknowledge the fear and concern felt by many across the district and community as a result of recent actions out of Washington targeting immigrants and the LGBTQ community. I want to thank everyone who continues to work on this. Obviously, as Dr. McBride said, it is, a moving target. The information is changing daily. And so I know that Dr. McBride and all of us on the board are committed to updating resources and information as we receive it. Again, I just want to remind folks that the information that Dr. McBride mentioned is available on the website. You will see it prominently featured when you go to the district's homepage. We really just want to reiterate and want everyone to know that everyone in the district is committed to ensuring that our schools are safe, welcoming, and inclusive for all of our students and their families, as well as all of our educators and all of our staff. I also want to remind everyone that we have clear district policies in place that reflect our unwavering commitment to providing this safe and welcoming environment for all. And Dr. McBride referenced this in his letter, but I just want to point it out for public reference. District Policy 5890 regarding access to education, student privacy, and immigration enforcement. That does provide protection and guidance guidance to students regardless of immigration status regarding their data, as well as guidance to district employees in dealing with law enforcement agencies. And obviously that is something that is being evaluated and updated as new information, comes down. And I also want to mention District Policy 5756 regarding gender identity and expression, which states that the Hackensack Board of Education believes that a school culture that supports student achievement, respects the values of all students, and fosters understanding of gender identity and expression within the school community, and make sure it is a safe learning environment. And anyone who's looking for more information or is in need of resources, please refer back to that letter. There's information and links to not only the department, the State Department of Education, but also to nonprofit advocacy organizations that represent immigrants and the LGBTQ community. There's information there in multiple languages. So we just want to make sure that everyone has the information and the resources they need. We will, obviously, as I said, continue to collaborate with Dr. McBride to update this information as any new information arises. And please know that we will continue to come together to lift up all of our students and their families in any way we can. This ability to provide support across the community was on full display 2 weeks ago at the funeral and homegoing services for Principal Whitaker. It was amazing to see the outpouring of love and support from across our district and across the community, and to hear the beautiful tributes from so many, including our very own Nellie K. Parker students who shared such wonderful tributes to Principal Whitaker, as well as Dr. Whiting and her family, Dr. McBride, Rosemary Flowers Jackson and Tony Jackson, and so many others. It was really beautiful to see that tribute and outpouring of love. I hope we can continue to honor Principal Whitaker by following in her footsteps, working to lift up those around us and treat everyone with dignity, grace, and respect. So I wish everyone a very good evening. We apologize for the long meeting. There were just some things we had to take care of and close, but thank you all so much.
Thank you so much. Trustee Pringle, go ahead.
Okay, y'all know I'm not long-winded, so, tonight I wanted, like I said, like Dave said, thank the choir, for coming out and singing. I have to admit, I did not know the Alameda song. I am not originally from Hackensack, but I have the song, so I'm gonna learn it. Okay. The second thing is, I want to thank you for, the support from the community, for people that come up and make comments, also to the ones that call in to make comments too. And yeah, I mean, basically, that's it. Thank you all. Good night. See you soon.
All right, thank you. Trustee Gilmore.
Good evening. Can I call you Candy? Candy, to answer your question, I'm the Chair of Community Relations, and Trustee Carol, Martin, and Amir Hamza will also be on the committee with me. So I'm super excited to bring my full self to this position, especially with the Community Relations Committee. I don't know if most of you know, but I experienced an almost tragic event with my son 2 years ago. He experienced a sudden cardiac arrest. Luckily, he was in the hospital and he required CPR for 90 minutes to survive. So CPR education has become my passion, and we have become advocates with the American Heart Association. And I plan to bring these programs to the Hackensack School District because we want to be a community of lifesavers, because it could happen to anyone. I'm really excited to get out into the community, to hear from the community, to engage with the community, and most importantly, to listen to the community. So I'm really looking forward to this role. Thank you, and have a good night.
Vice President, Trustee Stein, go ahead.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
First of all, as I said earlier this evening about the passing of Ed Achardi, for those who knew him was to love him. I knew him back in the late 80s. And in early 1990, he called me in, as well as other community members, and said, I have this idea for the community of Hackensack. He wanted to start a scholarship called the Hackensack Blue and Gold Scholarship Fund. As I said, to know him was to love him. He asked me if I would be on the trustee board. I readily accepted. Our goal that first year was to raise throughout the coming years $1 million. And scholarships would be given out based only on the interest earned, not on the beginning $1 million. To date, we have surpassed that $1 million. We will continue to give out scholarships based on the interest earned. I spoke, the wake for Mr. Achardi was today. I spoke with his family. And what they're requesting is, in lieu of flowers or other types of donations, to please make your donation, if you are so inclined, to the Hackensack Blue and Gold Scholarship Fund. The address is on the website. So just go to Hackensack Blue and Gold. You'll find all the information. I lost a very good friend. I also like to bring up again, as the chorus sang it, our alma mater. They do this at every concert that they perform during the year, whether it's the fall or the winter concert or the spring concert. The chorus sings the alma mater. And on a really happy note, I get the record, and each week the record has a section called Students of the Week. And this week, and they denote it as a male winner and a female winner. And it's my pleasure to let everyone know that Izana Garcia was honored this past Sunday in the record article as being the student of the week. So I believe I speak on behalf of the whole dais here, and hopefully on the Hackensack community, we send our congratulations out to Ms. Garcia for this honor. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Good evening, everyone. I will be as brief as possible. Echoing a lot of the same sentiments that my fellow board members had said. The Hackensack Chorus was amazing. Alma mater, once again, I've had this conversation with several trustees where some of them never knew we had one, or they never heard it during school. I remember hearing it every Friday. I guess it depends whoever showed up during homeroom. That's how you know, right? I do love the uniform for the chorus. I saw the H and it said chorus on it. A lot of familiar faces. What I love about our community and our students is that they're not just only in one thing. They are in everything. I do recall seeing some of those kids in the plays, also in other athletic sports teams. It is amazing. These children go above and beyond than just being in one club or sport. So I commend them for doing that. My condolences go out to the Achardi family. I did have the pleasure of meeting him several times, and every time I meet him, he just had a very warm, fun, inviting personality that I just said, how do you do that? How do you keep that energy? And he just believed in what he believed in, and he believed in the blue and gold. And I think that is something that we all need to take a page out of people like him. Thank you to Shanika Thomas, who is our student reporter here on the board. I do want her to also just keep a lookout. She will also be receiving an email from the Community Relations Committee, as she will also be serving as our student rep. Thank you to Donna Petron-Wall for the pre-K registration information. I think that was a very great use, updated presentation. And what I mean by updated, now we have digital things and not a telethon going on at central office. We heard all the concerns from last year, which actually stemmed out of the Community Relations Committee of parents. They're probably shutting us down in here. But we did hear the concerns that came out of the Community Relations Committee where they said this is not a feasible registration process. It doesn't work for working parents. It doesn't work for people who don't have the access or the ability to do so. So being able to have it both in Spanish and English and multiple languages and having registration online will definitely limit the wait time and will allow people to still go to work and still be able to register their children. So thank you for collaborating and making a better process for our members. Also, once again, I just want to, I know others have said this, give credit to our central office superintendent for keeping us updated, supporting our families. My heart breaks for our families, our students, our staff that are in fear of the changes, that are in fear of what might come down in the next few days. And again, we do not have the answers at this moment. We are waiting for guidance. We are waiting in terms of what do we do next. But what we can say is that we are here to support you. There are services put in place. There are resources put in place, and not only in English, but in Spanish and in multiple languages, as stated on the website. So please reach out. Don't be, I guess, afraid. I mean, it is very frightening, but we're here to support each other. And by us working together, we can help support and at least ease in terms of knowing that there eventually will be a solution to something. That is it for my report. At this time, this concludes the end of our public session. However, us as a board, we are going to go back into closed session. It is all positive stuff in case anyone's wondering. Nothing, nothing bad. However, in closed session, no action will be taken, which is why we will be meeting at the end. So can I have a motion to go into executive session, please?
Motion.
Motion by trustee Pringle, second by trustee Sine. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Okay, thank you very much, everyone. Have a good evening. It is 10:47.
Oh, you had
Okay, are you ready?
Ready.
So I'm just going to close the meeting. We're ready? Okay, I need a motion to close our meeting.
Motion. I do. I second.
By trustee Pringle. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Thank you. Have a good night, everyone. Any opposed? It is 12:19. Good night. Thank you.